All right, welcome to Media Day. I'm Chris Lee. That's Brian Murphy. That's Pat Welter. What a day for the Carolina Hurricanes and what a day for the Vegas Golden Knights as we're getting ready for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. What do you guys take away from Media Day today?
The Canes haven't made it yet, right? Yeah. Like everyone's so excited about them, quote, breaking through, but Rod was quick to kind of correct the reporter, asked him about that, and he's like, I don't think we have broken through.
Yeah.
And I appreciate both sides of it, right? Like we've been covering this team for the last 8 years, trying to get beyond the Eastern Conference Final, and they've done it. But clearly, like since that night, there's been a clear mission here that the job isn't finished yet.
Well, I thought one of the most interesting things he said, Rod Brind'Amour has been to 3 finals as a player, lost 2 of them, won 1. He says he only remembers the one that he won. Nobody talks about you if you finish in second place. Mm-hmm. They've really taken that to heart, I think, the Canes as well. They're as much celebrating as they did. They certainly didn't go overboard. It was on to the next thing. And it was funny hearing Las Vegas talk. They kind of talked the exact same way. Like, we haven't really done anything yet. Let's win this thing, then we can talk about it.
Yeah, very interesting to see kind of how everything is shaped up. And I know for me, I've thought about all the big things I've been a part of, and they've been all college-based, honestly. This is the first time I've been a part of something this big on a professional setting, right? Like the Carolina Panthers haven't given it to us yet. We did get one, playoff game, and then, of course, the Hornets haven't given it to us yet. But for this, I mean, this is big, and you're talking about all the media from around the country, all the media from Canada that's coming in just for this. This felt really big, and it felt like you brought out something different from the players as well as we were talking to them. I felt like you could see some of the players light up a little bit and understand the opportunity and what's ahead of them, where they have 4 more games to go if they win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, Seth Jarvis and Nikolai Ehlers talking about playing as kids in the backyard or on frozen ponds, imagining being in the Stanley Cup, which I know, I did as a little kid. I didn't become a professional athlete, though, so it's pretty wild when you step back from it and think about these guys being young boys. Once again, now they are men, and that's what's so cool about, I think, covering this team, too. The difference between college and pro is that so much of this core has been here now for 8 years, 5 years, several years. They've grown up within the organization.
Sure.
Quite literally down to the fact that they're having children as recently as Game 5 for Jalen Chatfield, who you talked to, and DeAndre Miller, Sean Walker, the list goes on. So it's been really cool to get to know these guys, from our standpoint in the media, watch them grow, and then now they're on this big stage because for most sports, the teams, the players change. Here, a lot of them stay the same.
The crazy thing is Las Vegas has about 5 or 6 players who their wives are about to have babies as well. So you're going to hear a lot of talk about new dads, babies in this series. One thing that struck me today and listening to Eric Tulsky talk and the GM for Las Vegas talk or for Vegas talk is just how aggressive they have been in building their rosters.
For sure.
I mean, we talk about Mitch Marner and Jack Eichel and all the splashy moves that the Vegas Golden Knights have made, but Eric Tulsky has swung for the fences as well. Absolutely. I mean, the Mikko Rantanen trade number 1 was a swing for the fences. Yep. And then to pivot and grab guys like Logan Stankoven and Taylor Hall in that series of transactions, they used the number 1 pick to then pick up Keandre Miller. Like, wow, those are 3 probably their best players in this postseason run, all acquired in one series of transactions. And then you look at, he also signed Gostisbehere as a free agent, Sean Walker as a free agent, William Carrier as free agent. He traded for Jankowski. Like, moves small and big. They have built this team piece by piece, and I think Tulsky's contribution shouldn't be overlooked.
You know, one thing I think is interesting about that, as you kind of described that series of transactions last year, that ends up making the best line for the Carolina Hurricanes right now this year. If you don't have those series of transactions, there is no Hall, there is no Stankoven, and they're not paired with the second-year Jackson Blake, who's gotten stronger, who's shown his skill and has absolutely exploded this year. It kind of felt almost like Jackson Blake's goal the other night right here in Game 5, where originally there was, I can't remember who tried to put it in, maybe it's Taylor Hall or Stankoven, but it's a rebound, and he's there off the rebound, and he goes and it puts it in. That's Stankoven. Essentially, he's the rebound because they swung and they missed on Mikko Rantanen. He didn't want to be here. He's only here for 43 days and said, yeah, I'm good. I want to go somewhere else. And now he's sitting at home watching these guys who essentially, if it weren't for the Hurricanes trying to go for the fences and swing for the fences, there is no Taylor Hall, there is no Stankoven, and there is not that second line that's, humming right now with 43 points.
And that what separates the good GMs from the average ones to the bad ones. And so much of it is how well he works with Rod Brindamore.
Yeah.
And Rod and Tulsky talked about this earlier in the postseason. Rod described it as they come from different worlds. And they quite literally do. Right. Eric Tulsky has a background in nanoscience. One of the interviews I did with him a couple of years ago, we're talking about how he basically designed the little rocks that if you make small enough in a television, become the QLED lights. If you emit light through them, I mean, this stuff is well over any of our heads, and it makes hockey look like child's play, right? But he's also self-aware enough to know what he doesn't know, and he's not Tulsky's not dictating upon Rod, and Rod isn't necessarily dictating upon Tulsky. They're finding players that fit Rod's system, and so between Tulsky and his analytics staff, kind of finding ways to quantify what the Canes do. They found all these guys to fit where they aren't just guessing, or they aren't just signing the sexy name out there. Yep. They're signing guys that fit the system. And Ehlers to me is not the antithesis, but the perfect example of both, right? Because he brought that skill, but he also brought an ability to fit in. And it's been made all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsky talked about Ehlers, said he doesn't break the structure, but he has the ability to stretch it.
Yeah.
He has the ability to stretch that structure, and we saw it with the game winner against Philadelphia. Or the game winner against Montreal. He can make a play outside of maybe that structure that you need to get this far. The bad news for the Hurricanes is Vegas has a lot of guys who can make a play out of structure. I mean, some of the plays that Mitch Marner has made, freed from that burden of Toronto, have been incredible. Free agent pickup out of Toronto has just been lights out this postseason. And if you're the Hurricanes or you're a Hurricane fan, Mitch Marner, name to know, guy who could really swing this series.
Absolutely. You were about to say something?
Just going to throw out a couple others because the Canes might not have the best player in the series. They might not have the best three players in the series, at least statistically.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, you mentioned Marner. But Pavel Dorofayev, who I've been saying his name wrong, I think the whole postseason, I think I've been calling him Dobrayev, learn the name because he leads the NHL in goals in the postseason. Marner is first in points. And then Brett Howden, who had an average regular season, has 10 goals as well. So you're just kind of, and obviously you mentioned Jack Eichel. So there's a lot of skill. So it reminds me a little bit of the start of that Montreal series where that top line for Montreal was so good and so skilled. But this one for Vegas is a little more experienced, a little more battle tested. That's going to be a huge storyline, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. There's been a lot of interesting moments here for Media Day today. I want to see what some of your favorite moments are, and I'll talk about my favorite moment. Well, what are some of your favorite moments, favorite quotes, maybe favorite interactions with some players?
Well, I had to do some investigative journalism.
I love it when you do that.
That's what I'm known for. Guys really digging in, asking the tough questions. And I found a nerds cluster.
Oh.
On the ground here, right over there yesterday. Oh my God, hold this, please.
There's one right here.
One right here, right
here, as we talk
Nothing about picking this
not
up. I didn't watch
planted.
my
That
hand.
was not planted.
It was still here. I had to ask Jarvis, I'm like, was that yours? Or was it the fans? He says, it might have fallen out of my pocket. So I don't know. I asked Jarvis about these nerds clusters. I'm not eating that. The nerds clusters earlier in the postseason is probably the most viewed interview I've ever done. But it's just funny to see these guys have so much fun they're at it. Like the culture here is, it's playing to the style, right? But it's also family and it's fun and doing it with a smile on your face. So it's fun to be able to have those moments with guys like Seth Jarvis, and I can't believe the nerd cluster was still there.
What's your favorite moment?
Yeah, one guy I got to talk to for a while. Well, I got to talk to Jackson Blake for a long time, and it was interesting. I also got to talk to Brandon Bussey. Brandon Bussey carried this team.
Yes.
They would not have been the number one seed in the playoffs if not for his work in the regular season. He was rewarded with that with a long-term extension, but hasn't gotten to play. And so, you play such a big role in the team getting to the playoffs, and then you have to sit on the bench and watch Freddie Anderson be brilliant. And so that emotion of yes, I'm super happy. I'm a part of this team, but I would love to be out there. I find that fascinating. He said all the right things. Brandon Bussey said all the right things. Happy to be here. Happy to do whatever part. He said, I pulled the rope during the season, and now it's someone else's turn to pull the rope. And if asked again, I will pull it once again. And I thought that was just a great way of handling it for a guy who could be pouting, could be this, I should be the starter, but was really had sort of what you talked about with Rod, right? The right culture in place. And that was one of the more fascinating conversations I had.
you previewed mine earlier with Jalen Chatfield. He was
Sorry,
the one
I gave it away.
No, all good. Because it's a good setup. Like he was the guy I got a chance to talk to a little bit more extensively than everybody else. Just mainly because I wanted to know his feelings about him being the only Jalen in the NHL. There was of course, the viral song. Why there's so many Jalen's in the NBA? Then somebody followed up with, why is there only one Jalen in the NHL? And I asked him about it, and he was just like, yeah, my cousin sent it to me, but he's been so focused. He didn't really know what I was talking about at first. I had to keep explaining it to him, and he was like, oh yeah, I did hear something like that. And it was like, man, you're a part of a viral video, man, and but that shows his focus. But the more important thing that I got from it, I had a chance to also ask him. You have Taylor Hall, who was the #1 overall pick, former MVP. You have Andrei Svechnikov, who was drafted pretty high. You have Sebastian Aho, all these guys who have this pedigree. They are great pickups because they were scouted early on and they were marked. These are big-time guys that's going to help some hockey program. That's not Jalen Chatfield's story. Mm-hmm. And he told me that he was cut from a hockey team at 14 years old. And that was one of the things that kind of helped him, I guess, move forward. Like, I got to work harder and get better at this. He didn't go to college and play in college. He played in some other leagues and then eventually, went to the OHL and then eventually got a shot in the NHL. And even when he got here to the Carolina Hurricanes, he was sent back down to the AHL so he could get better. And now he's here. And all of that hard work, all of the tears, all of the hard times of not knowing if he was going to make it, not being the guy that they're saying, hey, we want that guy because he's the big-time prospect. He's here. He's about to play for his first Stanley Cup title over the next couple of weeks. Big-time story for him. And there's guys like that you really want to root for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Well, like Bussy. I mean, a waiver wire guy. He was told me he was driving to Charlotte to play for the Checkers down there. Florida, in the Florida system, and he got a call from Tulsky and his agent saying, no, we've claimed you, come to Raleigh. So
jump a little bit further north.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The Jackson Blake story, and we've talked about all these guys who have been here for 8 years. Well, the Carolinas already signed their next core.
Right.
Logan Stankoven, Jackson Blake, Keandre Miller, all on long-term deals. Blake's deal doesn't even start yet. It starts next season. These guys are all on 8-year deals. So what we've gotten to see with Svechnikov and Aho and Slavin and Stahl, these guys who've been here forever, they've already built the next core of this team that's going to be here for the next 8 years. And I think that's super exciting if you're a fan, and super exciting, obviously, if you're a front office person, too.
Absolutely.
Well, we saw the Florida Panthers become a mini dynasty and then flame out in a way. Some of that was because of injuries this year, so maybe it's not over. But I think the Hurricanes have a chance, whether they win it this year or not, to get right back here again because of that. Right? Like, the window is open because of those smart free agent signings, those smart contracts, and players popping. Like, in a salary cap sport, like, you can't just manufacture a star out of thin air. You either have to draft him or you have to have him come in free agency. And, Mitch Marner wanted to go to Vegas. He didn't want to come here. Like, that's something I'm sure the Hurricanes kicked the doors on. But when you have a Seth Jarvis pop ahead of schedule, when you have Jackson Blake go from college to making the team his first season, I mean, my hot take on Jackson Blake right now, like, we keep calling that line the second line. I would not be surprised if in 2 years, Jackson Blake leads the Canes at goals.
Oh, for sure.
Or even next year.
For sure.
Like, the way he's playing right, I don't think it's a fluke. I think it's a product of the chemistry of that line. It's a little bit of the matchups, but also I think it's bigger than that, too. I mean, this guy has supreme skill. His dad played in the NHL, and some of the things he can do, reminds me of who's the forward on the Devils, who has the brother? Hughes. Jack Hughes. Some of the way he can skate in small places and the way he can create whip action with his stick is really special.
Well, Dennis Cox from 99.9 The Fan was talking about him earlier today at Media Day, and he was like, hey, Jackson Blake, I think, should be on the next USA hockey team because he's that good when it comes back around in 2030 for the Olympics. He should be on that team for sure. And by that time, you talked about his deal doesn't start to next year. He should really be like in his prime fully, and he's not even in his prime yet. So it's a lot of learning opportunities for them. I wanted to ask Jackson Blake. I didn't get a chance, but like his first 2 years, gets to the Eastern Conference Final. Now he's at the Stanley Cup Final. This isn't normal territory for a lot of players. They play such a long time and don't get here for Eric Stahl. For Jordan Stahl, it took him 17 years to get back to this part of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And he told me earlier today, he's always appreciated it, but he's a lot more appreciative now this time around because this is year, what, like 19 for him? This isn't year 2.
Well, Jackson Blake told me like he doesn't regret signing that long-term deal, even though the cap may go up and he may improve his value, because one of the reasons is Carolina is always competitive. They're always playing deep into the season. We talked about the Olympics. You talked about Hughes, Jacob Slavin, and Noah Hannafin, and there's another player on Vegas that I'm forgetting. All have a chance to become the next American to win the Stanley Cup and an Olympic gold medal in the same year. Ken Morrow did it in 1980. Famously on the 80 Olympic hockey team. Then he joined the Islanders that season and won the title out of college, which is a pretty remarkable story. But Slavin has a chance to win an Olympic gold and hoist the Stanley Cup in the same year.
Huge.
I think to all the points you guys are making, my takeaway from that is that there's a place for everybody on this roster. They all have a place. They all have a voice. You could go through that locker room. There's not one guy you have to talk to. Everybody has an interesting story, right down to Mark Jankowski and Eric Robinson in that fourth line. Will carry at least some guy on the team probably. He's won a Stanley Cup before and does like the dirtiest work of all dirty work on the team. And Eric Robinson had 3 goals last series. So I think that's just what makes the vibe so good. And it's an interesting contrast to Vegas, who, I don't know if you believe in sports karma, but there's a lot of things working against them, right, as a villain, right? They get the big free agency signing in Mitch Marner. They build a lot of their team that way. They're in Vegas, Sin City. Their coach is Tortorella. They sleepwalk through the regular season. They have to fire their coach with, 8 games remaining. Their goalie is Carter Hart, who has everything that comes with that court case that he was acquitted from. A lot of reasons not to vote for to root for Vegas. A lot of reasons for the sports gods to not allow this to happen. But I don't know if that's ultimately going to make any difference on the ice. But I find the contrast interesting.
It does feel like we need to buckle up for a 6 or 7 game series, right? This doesn't feel like a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. It feels like, guys, we've got to go to Vegas twice.
First time for me.
Unfortunately, we may have to go to Vegas twice. But I'm excited. Game 1 tomorrow, of course, puck drops at 8 o'clock. And, all 3 of us, along with John Rector, who's behind the camera helping us out right here, we're going to be through the entire ride with you guys.
Chris isn't going to make us pick. He's not going to make us pick.
No. We're not going to do that right now. We're not going to do that right now. Because, I know what we want to pick, but also I don't want to put any bad juju out there if it's not the Carolina Hurricanes. But, I think that I think this is going to be pretty exciting.
I think it's going to be a long series, and hopefully all these fans that are paying, a month's worth of mortgage are going to have a good time in games 1 and 2.
This probably won't be the first or last time I make this joke, but I'm betting on 17. Bet on Bryn Mawr. Black, red, you can't lose.
Hey, listen, bet on WRAL to keep you updated on everything right here on YouTube and all of our other platforms. Make sure you like, subscribe, hype, all that type of stuff. Comment, let us know what you think about what we're talking about here. And who's going to score the first goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs? Or Stanley Cup final, I should say. Let us know down below.
22.
Probably so.